No, I think sales is so misconstrued in what it is. Like when people from the outside, it sounds like you're kind of manipulating or taking advantage of psychology, but you're just trying to talk someone out of talking themselves out of doing something that they need to do or they want to do deeply. It's really interesting to think about
Yeah,
it.
when the takeaway, really, when you take it away is, well, I mean, maybe it's not a fit, or hey, before you do business together, I got to determine if it's a fit for me, right? Not for you. It's a fit for me. What do you mean it's fit? Well, we're not cheap, and here's what. Oh, you're trying to say that I can't afford it? I'm going to show you that I can afford it, right? And so it's, yeah, no, here's what it is versus, begging or trying to, explain. It's, no, here's the outcome. This is what it looks like. This is how we're going to get there, and hitch your wagon to me. And, let's go. Um, so yeah, and just, you gotta, from sales and marketing, what you're doing, you have to just say, look, um, as soon as I hang up, I get 10 more, clients that I need to talk to, and we're in high demand. And, at the end of the day, um, you need me more than I need you, right? That's the,
It's funny how, in the early stages of your life, you have to kind of pretend and manufacture that sort of thing. But like right now, when the status you're in, like you are actually unbelievably busy, and there's an opportunity cost to every hour you spend screwing around on something that doesn't get an outcome for you or someone else. So it just, you become more valuable by being more valuable. And like you said, that's that self-feeding.
I went through a few cycles in my career to where, things will slow down or this and that, and and then you start discounting and you start to lower it and this and that. And then that also feeds on itself in another direction versus, the other way of, no, no, no. Hey, I'm busy and I'm confident. And, as soon as I hang up, there is going to be more. And, with that confident, and that just comes out. And then what happens is when you can't take on any more work, you charge double the amount. That's
I didn't do very well in economics class, but I did remember supply and demand.
it's supply and demand. And then when you do it and then you're prepared to just walk away, that's just really negotiations 101. It's just like, yeah, but hey, I wish you the best of luck. I can give you a number for Joe Shit the Rag Man if you want, and so yeah, I mean, you have a different challenge in the sense that, people, it's really hard to articulate what it is that this is the outcome, selling the outcome as well.
This has been kind of like an interesting segue into what I intended to talk about today. It's very much psychology is I don't know how often like you at the shop and are talking to the investigators about it, academically, but a lot of what you do is psychology from like the sales, the discovery, really trying to unpack what's going on, taking cues from people you're investigating, and then also managing your own psychology. So, really, the thing I want to pick away at is today, you've seen a lot in your life as an investigator. And, the nature of your work, you see the underbelly of society in a way that almost nobody does. You see the realities of organized crime, deception, infidelity, lying, and we as humans we're pack animals. We love relationships. We want to believe things people are telling us. We want to live in a civilized world. Um, but we often know that's not the case. The word you said last time we talked was you're a paid skeptic. And I think that's really powerful because that is just a different lens you look at the world that allows you to see through all of the bullshit. How do you live your professional life as a paid skeptic, but still go out into the world and find like love and happiness and stay, content with the world around you, knowing how vicious it can be?
Yeah. It's something that I never wanted my children to get into investigations because you're always seeing the deceptive side, the worst side of things, and then you psychologically have to kind of think like the bad guy. In order to catch the bad guy, you got to think like the bad guy. So, oftentimes what people walk through life and being naive and looking and saying, and then it's right there in your face as this big beacon of what are you thinking about? Here's what it is. And, at times, ignorance is bliss, as they say. But oftentimes there there are you say pack animals, but there's some wolves out there, you looking to chase you down.
That's the easiest. I love the way that you phrased that, is because like most people fit into one profile. We want to please the world around us. We're pack animals. And then that psychology makes it so easy for like the lone wolf with bad intentions to take advantage of people. Um, how do you, when you're confronted with one of these lone wolf types that will lie with a straight face, exhibit sociopathic tendencies, how do you manage interviewing and dealing with and fighting against that type of person?
Yeah, most bad guys have already thought it through in their mind. Hey, if I'm ever confronted with this, I'm just going to say this, this, and this, which is true. They rehearse it over and over and over, and they have the answer for the first three questions, but they don't have the answers for question number 8 or 10 or 12, right? And as it starts to fall apart in doing interviews by the thousands in my career, I often say, look, I don't know everything about you, Scott, and I'm not going to pretend to know everything. You know 100% about you. But what I do know about you will sink your ship. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a quiz. I'm going to give you a quiz. And I don't know all the answers, but I do know some of the answers. And when you fail the quiz and you're not able to answer some of those things that I, already know. And so that's really where what I've seen, very bad guys out there think that they're smarter than everybody else, and you play into that. Hey, look, yeah, you're smarter. At the end of the day, I'm going to fly below the radar, and I'm going to take my opportunity, and I'm going to shot when your guard is down, and you don't have the answers.
Yeah, I guess like experience is just so incredibly valuable. We were talking about kind of sales leading into this conversation, where early in your career, you're kind of thinking through like objections and rebuttals, like what are common questions that salespeople, prospects ask, and then how do I answer them? So often these bad guys, I guess, are prepared for the first few ping pongs of like the questions and answers. And it's just the experience that you rip the scabs open and keep probing and probing and probing until it turns into a poker game where you can win.
Yeah, and what you have to really do is go into it with an open mind, leaning on all of that experience to say, okay, well, I'm not going to put it in my head that I know the answers or how this is going to go, right? And so you have to go into and it's a bit of a dance, and every case is a snowflake. And certainly it has lots of similarities, but every case is unique, and you have to go into that with an open mind, be aggressive. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in a case to where I started to do the math and I said, oh, it's got to be this way. And then when you get there, the math doesn't add up and took you down a completely different path. And you had that oh shit moment of, oh, I got ahead of myself. And,
Yeah.
instead of just letting it come to me.
That's something that you bring up a lot, and I know what you mean for my own life is early you let yourself get over your skis by, going back to the analogy, overplaying your hand, so to speak. Is it that later in your career, a sporting analogy is the game slows down for you a little bit to where in the moment you're able to stop and let it come to you?
Yeah, you're able to make your reads, that much quicker, process those. You're looking for those cues. You can tell through all of those interviews. Hey, is it day or is it night? Is your name Scott or not? You're getting those baseline questions, and you can quickly tell by reading somebody. If I said, "Hey, Scott, sorry, but people told me you stole that microphone that's in front of you there," right? You're looking for those cues. Why would I steal this microphone? I make $100,000 a year, or this and that. Whereas those cues you're looking for, well, I didn't steal this microphone because stealing is wrong, right? Um,
Yeah.
you're looking for those cues if after somebody accused you 3 or 4 times when you're sitting up and you're starting to get aggravated and you're looking and you're making eye contact versus, okay, leaning back. No, and so picking up on all of those verbal cues and all those visual cues, you can really get a baseline and lean on that experience to know, okay, this is what you're telling me is not true. And I've been in it before with clients that have taken me out of the room and said, "Oh, Brian, please stop. I don't think that they've done it," to where it's like, no, no, no. They haven't MF'd me. They haven't got up. They haven't pounded the table yet. They haven't, trust me, it's there. Let it play out. Have a little more patience. And these things aren't solved at the first commercial break, right? These are things that you have to give process to. And so performing, I've had interviews that have been 4, 5, 6 hours straight before finally broke them, to get the truth. So
How much do you think it takes to like break the conditioning that you want to believe people, and that's why lying works, is because our first impulse is to believe people. And most people don't have someone sitting across a table from them lying to their eyes for 4 hours straight. How many times did you have to experience that before you stopped assuming that the person is telling the truth?
I would say to this day, when I do, let's say, an internal theft interview of lots of people, um, someone will get through the net the first go. And as an investigator, you get pissed to say, oh, this person was attractive. They were clean cut. They were articulate. As you push, they were able to answer all the questions. Maybe you let your guard down as an investigator and they get out of the room and they lied to you and you bought it. But 5, 6 interviews later, when you're getting written admissions to say, no, no, no. That girl who you interviewed, who was 8 months pregnant, is still doing meth. And I sell it to her, and I'm her boyfriend, and she's married here. And then you're pulling them back in and saying, okay, shame on me for not being that paid skeptic. That's my job. I let my guard down because who would ever think that the woman that's 8 months pregnant would be, irresponsible and still doing meth and stealing stuff out the back door, right? And so it's human nature, but per it, lots and lots of experience, you just have to forge on. And sorry, but again, it's that trust but verify.
You've done some really, like guys like me say, that's some badass stuff and been in grisly situations and have dealt with all types of organized crime and guys that are involved in some really immoral, unethical stuff. But I also know that you're a good family man. How do you keep those two worlds separate? When you go home, do you talk to your family about this kind of stuff? Do you see through the eyes of an investigator when you're on a family trip? Like, how do you keep those worlds separate?
Yeah, it's kind of like that unique talent or those spidey senses that you have, r- right? It's one of those to where, you know, uh, you know, I try not to, come home, kiss the dog, kick the wife, right?
Mhm.
Right. And so
Yes.
as much as my, wife wants to hear those stories and, go over that, I try to leave work being work, but, sometimes as she overhears some of this and then explains to her, you know, it really is a ding on, humanity.
No, it really is. And I think that, thank goodness, 99% of the world is lucky enough to live from beginning to end without seeing the stuff that you see on a daily basis. How do you stay optimistic? Like, you seem like maybe you're a total sociopath and I can't see through it, but you seem like a happy, generally mentally healthy, normal guy.
Yeah, I try to be in the perspective that I put it in is, we as investigators, all investigators, we're trying to get to the truth. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. What's great is we're wearing the white hat. We're, Clark Kent, it's, trying to help out, those people that are taking advantage and, um, that, at times, hey, I'm Mr. All right, from Pulp Fiction.
Hmm.
And so, I'll fix it, but here's how we have to do it in order to fix it. So, at the end of the day, I try to keep those separate, but it is a different lenses that you look through, as it relates.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated by it because your human experience is like everyone has a different human experience, but yours is very, very different. Um,
Yeah, it's unique to say the least.